be a camel owner or simply an adoring camel fan, you're in the right place for some fun, useful and interesting camel talk. This is the Camel Connection podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Tara.
And I'm Russell. Join us here for fun learning about camels, how to care for, train and handle them. Plus, insider stories and interviews.
And also some interesting stories of our lifestyle with camels, the good, the bad, the ugly and the very funny.
Make sure you've subscribed now so you don't miss out on an episode.
Now, some of these podcasts are an audio take of our video, so be sure to check those out on our blog for lots of how-to visuals and, of course, lots of camels.
This is your one and only go-to podcast, all about camels.
Welcome back to our Camel Connection podcast.
Hello everyone.
It's Tara here.
And Russell here.
And Tara here.
Oh, it's not our last name.
We've got some really exciting things to share with you today about our trip to India recently. I think we've been back for a couple of weeks now. It's all a bit of a blur because we've been a little bit sick from a virus we caught, God knows where, could have been over there. But we've got some really exciting things to share with you about what really happened on our India Camel Journey. Anyway, I won't give it too much away. But what we do want to start with is a shout out. A shout out to the other 6 amazing people that came with us on this India Camel Journey. You signed up knowing it was going to be extreme adventure, strenuous exercise like walking 120 kilometers. It's supposed to be 100, but anyway. And you signed up for all the unknowing things that would happen. So, Wendy G, first, we say, the G at the end of people's name is kind of like a form of respect in India. So that's why we're going to say their name and with the G, because we've just come back from India and it's kind of like still sticking.
Very much.
So first, a shout out to Wendy G. Gosh, unfortunately, she actually fell very sick on our trip, but her strength and determination is like, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to get as much as I possibly can out of this trip was just amazing. So I know you're recovering now, but your presence there was such a delight to be around.
Just great to get to know you.
Yes, yeah.
We met you over in the States, but to actually go on a journey with you was just great.
Yes.
Absolutely great.
Yeah. And then we've got Debbie Sue G, who also was just, you guys were all awesome to be around. It was just the biggest delight to have you on this journey. So thank you for coming along as well. Also from the United States is Carrie and Michaela, who were just so much fun to be around.
Awesome.
Michaela's, the way she talks, I'm still getting used to.
I've still got it in my head. That's great.
And it was awesome having you guys on board and just
the energy.
Yeah, all the energy they put into the trip as well, which is really good, and all the encouragement and positivity. Andrew G, oh gosh, well, you were the only bloke other than Russell on the trip and all the other blokes in India, but you were really great at just helping out wherever you were,
himself.
and also making us laugh every 2 seconds.
Wow,
You don't mean to be funny, Andrew, but you are.
You are. You're a very funny man, and we mean that in the nicest possible way.
Oh yes.
And of course, your company was just so welcome by everyone.
Very warm. Everyone loved it.
Not just the participants, but also everyone in the village.
Yes, and the most common question on the trip was, where has Andrew gone? Because every time we turned around, he was off on somebody's motorbike going to have chai at somebody's house.
So either chai at someone's house or finding a chicken egg or something.
So thank you, Andrew. And last but not the least is Amy G. Thank you so much for joining us on this trip. Oh, what a delight. You were all such a delight. And yeah, like this trip wouldn't have been possible without you. So we're all so grateful for what you contributed, the love that you just oozed out of you towards the communities that we stayed in, the acceptance of all the unknowing things that happened. It was all awesome. So thank you. And a shout out to all those lovely people. So
but also another shout out to Neitha as well, and his family, and your hospitality, but also all of the people inside your village as well.
Oh.
The hospitality, honestly. I started travelling when I was 18. Around Australia and then around the world, many countries, etc. And I can honestly say I have never ever seen anything so amazing in my life as to the hospitality that you guys showed.
It was insane. Like, it was just everything. Plus, like, we weren't expecting half the stuff that happened. Like, it was just, we can't even, like, it would take up the whole day just to tell you all the things that happened. But we will cover the basics. But for those considering going to India or, you know, possibly wanting to come on this trip, do not hesitate next time. My God, our minds were blown. We got way more than we expected. And it was just the most humbling, beautiful experience on this planet. So without further ado, shall we start from the start, Russell?
Well, let's get into it. Okay, well, for Tara and I, the first thing, which everyone did, of course, was to jump on an aeroplane. And head over to India. Well, for us, I mean, you know, it's not just a matter of jump on an aeroplane. It's organised animals, it's organised kids, and so that was weeks and weeks of work before even jumping on the aeroplane.
Mm-hmm.
But once we got on the aeroplane, that was great. We were right up the back in the back seats, and behind the curtain. Behind us was the curtain, and of course next to that was the toilet.
Yeah, we weren't in first class.
No, but at least it was handy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, that was a fun ride, really. You know, not knowing really what we were getting ourselves involved in.
We had
a basic idea.
Well, we knew our intentions, which was to buy the 6 camels, which had already been purchased for us. So, bit of a story. So we got a loan from somebody in the village to buy the camels and give that to the camel herder. And then when we got there, we did this whole ceremony that lasted about 2 hours of exchange of ownership and lots of photos and lots of chai
and wads of money.
Yeah.
We had to hand over wads of money to the bloke who went ahead and loaned the money.
Yeah.
And I could hardly put my hand around it.
Yeah.
Just being the rupee, you know, compared to.
And if you're wondering how much we paid for the camels, I think it was something like $320 USD each, which is about 400 Australian. So that's nothing.
No, well, I mean, it's approximately the same that we would pay for a camel that comes from the bush.
Directly, yeah.
You know, that's untrained. But anyway. Yeah, so, okay, so we ended up in Delhi. We arrived in Delhi, and if you've ever been to Delhi before, big city, big Asian city, and, you know, lots of cars, you know, the air is pretty thick, and people everywhere, being India with 1.4 billion people, I believe it is now.
A lot.
And we got to our guest house for the night and met up with everyone who were on the journey, and there was even stories attached to that. Andrew got lost in the airport, trying to you know, find his way and find someone who was a contact, and just his stories behind that. That is a blog post in itself.
Oh, that's a documentary.
Yeah. So we ventured out a little bit there in Delhi just to get last minute supplies of things before we jumped on a plane the next day to Jaipur. I think that's how you say it.
No, I think we went to Jodhpur. Jaipur is different to Jodhpur. Yeah.
Yeah, I get the two confused.
Well, they're very similar.
Yeah. And of course, once we got out of the aeroplane, then we were taken to a restaurant, which was very nice, and then proceeded on to Neitha's village.
Yeah, which was just, it was amazing actually. Like, well, none of us really knew what to expect of a village, you know. Is it just going to be this kind of village in a suburban kind of state, or is it going to be something out in the middle on a dirt road? But then when we started to reach dirt roads and go through all these really bumpy roads, it was like, oh, like I could feel the excitement. I could feel everyone's excitement building. Like, oh my God, we're really going to an Indian village, and we're really going to stay with these people for a week or whatever it was. And it was just exciting. And I remember when we got there, I felt my heart swell. And I'm like, oh my God. I think I turned to Wendy and said, oh my God, we're in India and we're staying in a village. Like, it is off the beaten track. It is not a hotel or a motel. It's not luxury. Well, actually, for us, it seemed luxurious. We just got spoiled like crazy. But, you know, it was a total Indian experience, which when I travel and when we travel, that's all we want. We want to immerse into the culture, and that's exactly what we got, plus so much more.
Absolutely, yeah. And the best part about it was that, you know, we were in an area there where Westerners don't visit because it's not a part of the tourist travel.
No.
It's just an Indian village, and a lot of the people had not met Westerners before.
Yes. Especially the kids.
Yeah, especially the kids, that's right. And so, you know, there was this wonderful interaction that was going on of a connection, I suppose, that was being formed.
Mm-hmm. And the trust building, yeah.
Yeah, and so we were greeted by Neitha and his family, and the villagers were just swarming all around the place. Who are these people? What are they?
But yet that, like, I mean, I've been to places where that's felt a bit intimidating, but it didn't feel that way. They all felt so loving and accepting. And obviously they did a little bit of a welcoming ceremony. They put the red dots on our head. They put a piece of, cotton around our arms. So, you know, we were already part of it.
I've still got mine on.
Yeah, it's fully apart. But and so basically we were a part of them. And you know, Neitha said to us that, you know, our home is your home. And, you know, we all felt that to the core, that, you know, that we are free to go to other people's places and have chai if we want to.
Yeah. And what I have to say here, though, is that all this time it was the Indian festival of Diwali.
Yes.
So in Delhi, the lights were on and the firecrackers were going off. And just adjust the microphone, there we go. And of course, when we got to the village, well, they don't have as much of all those sorts of things, like the lights.
Oh, there was enough.
but they made up for it in so many ways and celebrated Diwali.
I think it was about 4 days. We were there for 5 days and probably lasted 4 days. My nerves were a bit shot by the end of it because all these firecrackers were going off and some of them were so unexpected, but everyone else was just chilling out to it. I'm just like, okay, by day 3, I think my nerves have got this under control.
Absolutely. So we had the welcoming, and that was terrific, and then shown where we were going to be sleeping, etc., and all that sort of thing. So we did all that, and then of course it was time for chai.
Yes.
And so we had our traditional, you know, chai made out of buffalo milk, and
the buffalo just hang out the back, next to the houses.
Yeah, no mucking around. And it was just, you know, beautiful chai, of course. And because it was late in the afternoon by that stage, then dinner was going to be created inside Neitha's house. And
now, given it's Diwali, there seem to be a lot of visitors hanging around.
There was an enormous amount of people.
And to us, we thought, oh, this must just be normal. Everybody comes for dinner.
Yeah.
But then we sort of caught on to the fact, okay, it's Diwali. Everyone's coming to celebrate. I think there was neighbouring villages. They come to see these white people, the Gora, eat out of their hands.
So we had a lot to learn about table manners, Indian style, and you know, the use of knives and forks, for example,
which are completely absent.
It's not necessary, and we actually share the food. Now, by that, what I mean, say for example, if I'm sharing the food with Tara, well, I pick up some food in my hands, and I actually put it in her mouth. So we were all doing this.
Which, by the way, for those listening, this was total breakdown of the barriers that I have towards other people feeding me. Like, even in a romantic sense, I'm like, Russell, do not feed me. I can feed myself. So, like, the whole time I'm just like, Tara, you've got to let this go. You got to let it ride out and laugh your way through it. And so I let it all go, and we laughed the whole way through it. But there was a system they had with how the Diwali celebration and how you got fed. So you get fed once by your host, and then the guest would feed the host. No, I think you get fed 3 times by the host, and then once by I don't know. We didn't really figure out the rules. We just kind of kept shoving things in people's faces.
Just doing it, you know, one way or the other. So yeah, it was just a wonderful first day.
I think though, before we did the dinner, we did go to the Camels, didn't we? And
we had
meet
a look
them.
at the Camels.
Yeah.
That's
So
true,
that was a really interesting thing because most of the camels had head stalls on. One of them didn't, and it was the most wild one. I can't remember which camel that was.
Careful of the word wild.
Well, oh yeah. So, okay. When we refer to wild, this is a bit of a disclaimer. We're actually referring to untrained, unhandleable currently, kicking, biting, not wanting anything to do with humans. That's what we class as wild. Why we have that in our vocabulary? I can't even say vocabulary.
Yeah, we know what you mean.
Yeah. Like, it's just a word we use. Kind of like how we say g'day. What we should be saying is good day, because that's what it stands for. But we say g'day. That's just what we do.
And you know, like for our American listeners, if we were to use the American term green, as far as those types of camels, that's what they were. They were green.
Yes, not purple.
Okay, well, whatever. But yeah. Anyway, let's get on with it. So that
So they were untamed.
They were untamed.
And there was one particular
they were
one.
farm raised. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So there was one particular one that Netha said that one is very dangerous.
Yeah.
And we looked at it and we're like, that's going to be the best camel.
and it's as seriously as it was. But yeah. So the kick was like with there's 2 types of kicks, and there were demonstrations by the camels of both types of kick.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you're not sure of what we mean by the 2 types of kicks, we do refer to that in our training courses. But I'll just briefly describe. One kick is more a get out of my space type kick, and the other one is I'm going to send you flying across the yard kick. Yes.
And also the other part of this was it's quite uncommon for female camels to be nose pegged, but the Raika people that we were, you know, in the village where we were staying, thought it would be in our best interest to have them nose pegged. Now, we didn't request that, but it did happen, so we accept that fact. That's fine. So these camels also went through that experience of being nose pegged, which, you know, they none of them had an interest in us really. Like, we would put our hand up for a sniff, and very few would actually be like, no, I don't want to barf you. Yeah.
So anyway, that was the first day, and like we bonded with the people, and like just straight away the laughs just started, you know. The zaniness, I suppose, of the Indian enthusiasm for life.
Yes.
That was just,
and the simplicity.
So infectious, and we cottoned on to that very, very quickly, and we pretty much became pretty zany ourselves very quickly. In the meantime, there were all these firecrackers going off with Diwali, and Andrew's grabbing the packets of them and throwing them all over the countryside, having a ball, and he was having a ball with the people of the village with the firecrackers.
We all were. It was amazing. Yeah.
So yeah, we had the dinner, and that was just a magic experience. And then of course the next day, it's more sort of Diwali sort of celebrations, and meeting up with the elders and going.
So here we are, us Westerners, going, right, we've got an itinerary, we're on a schedule here, we know what we're going to do. We're going to train camels on day 1. This is day 1 of training the camels.
Change things.
Out of what is it, 5 days we're going to train them? I can't remember now. And we're like, okay, let's do this. We'll get up in the morning, have our chai, have our breakfast, and off we go to the camels. Yeah, the wake up call starts at 4:30 a.m. I believe, which is just a whole which is basically a prayer in song.
An om.
Yeah. It was very much like an om. And so that sets you up for the day. And then, so us Westerners are like, right, today is the day we train camels. And we probably didn't get to the camels until about 11 a.m. Because of all these celebrations, and everyone wanted us involved, and they, it was beautiful.
Everyone wanted to meet us.
Yeah.
And they wanted to put food in our mouths.
Yes.
It just happened.
And for us, we knew that the camels were going to be fine, that the training will be completed, because we've done training courses before where we've been on a very limited schedule, and I guess that's why maybe subconsciously we allowed the 5 days rather than the normal 3 that we do, because we know that it's,
as it turned out, it was perfect.
It was absolutely perfect. Yeah. And obviously the camels got trained, so
yeah. And for me, to be able to sit down in the council of elders, which we all did, and with these wise old men, who are essentially tired from what they were doing during their lives, and sitting down with them and trying to communicate, number one, but secondly, sharing, and we were all part of it, and they were so warm and accepting, and we were having great laughs with them all the time, and
even though there's a language barrier, we still connected, and it's because they're so open. And
one thing that actually really impressed me too was they knew why we were there. They knew what the program was.
Yes.
Neither had worded them up on what our intentions were. And that was for the group to purchase the camels, to train the camels so that then they were calm enough for their intentions, which is to start a milking operation to support their village.
Yes.
And so the elders were just so grateful, I think is the best word I can think of at the moment. They expressed that in their face, in their gestures, in their wanting to, sort of get to know us better. And for the group, we were just happy to be there, and happy that, we were able to offer something back. I mean, camels have been good to us over the many years, and to be able to be there and assist a lovely person like Neitha and his village in a project that is going to continue their culture, or help to continue their camel culture, but at the same time provide employment opportunities and income for the village. Now, I don't know. I mean, it has a warm, fuzzy feeling about it that we were able to create a program that allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to blow whistles or anything else about it when I'm saying all this, but the gratefulness that these people demonstrated and the openness that they shared with us about their lives,
and it wasn't in a sense that they wanted us to give more. It was just, thank you for doing this. Absolutely. And we found that when we arrived in Pushkar too, there was this, we went to somewhere to have lunch, and we told the guy, what we'd just done, train some camels, walk in Pushkar, give them away to a village so they can start a milking operation. And he just first looked at us stunned, like, really? Yeah. And then he's like, one sec, and he went to get something, and he came back and he says, thank you so much for what you're doing.
Yeah.
And to us it's like, well, we just did it. But to see what that meant to him, who he's not even a camel person, he runs a accommodation. Yeah. It was like, I think we've done something big here.
Yeah, there was something in it. And
I mean, it's not big in the sense of worldly big, but in the sense big enough to fill people's heart with hope, possibly with more dreaming of, for Netha and his village for owning more camels and doing what they want to do with camels. But, what else can it's just, I'm kind of lost for words with that sort of stuff.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
So, after many celebrations, various locations around the village with many people,
Mm-hmm.
and ceremonies.
And afternoon trips in the back of a tractor to go shopping.
We did that too. We hopped in the train.
You know what? It was sort of like being treated like royalty. Like I think maybe I dropped a word to Nether and said, us women would love to get, one of the authentic women's dresses. And he's like, Oh, okay. And then 15-20 minutes later, he comes back. He goes, this afternoon at 4:00, we'll go to the shops and get you a dress. And I'm like, oh my God. And so many, I said, and then I said, I really feel like a coconut, a green coconut drinking one. And then 25 minutes later, one will just pop up.
The coconut. It was, and Shabon.
Shabam, yep.
He's... Neitha's brother?
Cousin.
Right, cousin.
Well, they all call each brothers, but
yeah. They do, that's right. So that's why I always got confused as to the family lineage.
Yeah.
Where they fit in the family.
They're all brothers.
Anyway, he had very good English, and and he actually said to me, in our culture, in our village, the
guest is like God.
Like God.
Yeah.
And they certainly did demonstrate it.
Oh, yeah.
But with a heart.
Yes.
It wasn't like a chore. It wasn't like you go to a tourist hotel and people serve you because that's their job.
Yeah.
It was different. It was so different.
It was so incredibly humbling. I from a personal level, I think I learnt a lot about the person that I could be, or some character traits of mine that I could certainly, increase on, develop a bit more on. It was really amazing in that respect. But like I said, would get some of the camel training stuff done, and then would be off to the closest village that would sell these dresses, and all these dresses got custom made for all of us women, and they are beautiful. And then we'd find. And then I think there was one night we went out to some goat herders because they're all vegetarian in this village, so they don't eat meat. So we were all kind of
sell it.
We were all kind of craving meat, and so they cooked up a goat for us, but we had to leave the village in the tractor again, like in the back of a trailer on a tractor.
So we ended up in some paddock.
It felt like we were being led down a very dark alley.
So we got there, and these people actually live, pretty much in little huts made out of sticks and sheets of plastic.
And then our beautiful, beautiful cooks.
And
they
just out there in the paddock for us and looked after us. And were more than welcoming into their house, for want of a better word. Well, it is their house. The sticks with some sheets of plastic, and showed us how they're making the food, and
took us into the goat paddock and let us pat and pick up the goats.
Proud
and
of what they were doing.
They were very proud, weren't they?
Yeah.
And so guys, what can we say? We got the most authentic Indian experience you could ever ask for. It was all a lot of it was unintentional. It just happened. But it was just amazing, and everyone pitched in. We had some really wonderful cooks, and we all ended up becoming really great friends. We had 2 camel herders assisting us, Raika camel herders. Papa G was the most famous. He was the shortest man possibly in the village, and we all fell in love with him.
Yeah.
And
full of character.
I can't recall how old he was, in his 70s, I think.
Well, he doesn't know.
That's right.
He doesn't have any birth records.
But they thought in his 70s,
Maybe,
I think. Yeah.
But
he
healthy.
Yeah.
Strong.
Yeah. So, okay, going back to some camel stuff in India. So there is a dominant approach to camels in India, perhaps because, it's a survival thing, India, being a third world country. There's probably a whole pile of reasons for it. And, obviously a big part of what we do in our company is that we try to demonstrate to people that there is a gentler way, that camels are a very sensitive creature, and that, you know, they deserve our respect and blah, blah, blah. So when we travel to other countries, we do not go to change the way of the locals' thinking. We're going to give our Westerner customers another perspective, but two, an experience in another culture. So that's what we do. So we never go to change ideas or thoughts or anything like that. It's
and
never.
What they do with the information that they receive from us, of what we do and how we operate, I mean, you know, that's up to them.
And what we get from the information we receive from them
Is up to us.
is also very valuable to us on many occasions. So. So Papa G was amazing. Like, given his age and his experience with camels, he was so open to learning. Like, I thought that it would be a lot of resistance there. But when he saw a whole pile of women dealing with very large animals, because generally speaking, women don't handle / train the camels. He was in India, obviously. He was. You could see his mind ticking.
He was ticking.
And the rest of the village and the men too.
Yeah.
So us women would be in there doing the work, and you know, but not being afraid of the camel, but connecting with the camel, and the difference they saw was amazing. So the most heartwarming thing was just. As we said our final goodbyes to our camels in Pushkar, they were being walked back to the village. Papa G and also everybody else who was helping with the camels, even the cooks, everyone just pitched in where they can. They were all so quiet and gentle and so loving towards these creatures. And, you know, they're putting their hand up to give a sniff. And then I remember when I saw one of the teenage boys who was they were getting involved on one of the training days. Yeah. And then instead of the yahooing, they started to kiss the camel. And, it all changed. It just gives me goosebumps to think about. Like, it was just a heartwarming experience. Yeah. And it was never our intention to show them, you know, well, this is a better way, because we don't have a better way. We just have our way, and that's not good, bad, or indifferent. The whole experience in that respect was really heartwarming, and those people's lives changed, and a lot of the young boys don't work with the camels because camels are scary and dangerous, and if they come near the camels, the elders will chase them off and, you know, all that sort of stuff and make sure they don't come back. But you could see the inquisitiveness of these teenage boys. So next time we go, we want to work. We said to Netha, we want to work more with the young boys.
So up for that.
Yeah,
you could see that it's actually the younger generation coming through. That if they get the training and if they you know, given the opportunities, then they're the ones that are actually going to continue on working with camels as you know, people retire out of the business or you know, whatever. And so that's a nice
so
thing to
important
happen there. But anyway, let's get back to the actual training. So we had all the village at one stage virtually.
I think it was about the first 3 days we had.
First 3 days we had all the village, you know,
everyone was watching
us, what we were doing, and you know, we got them involved when we possibly can, of course. But we had the program that we needed to do, and in between times, of course, we were waiting for 10 minutes for the next chai, or 10 minutes or dinner will be ready. And all these funny things that were happening.
Yeah, we got used to the 10-minute thing.
Yeah,
it's basically undisclosed time.
That's rubber 10 minutes.
Camel time.
Yeah. But eventually we got these camels. I mean, they were, you know, tied to the trees. We managed to get there. That was quite a day, actually, even getting the ropes on.
Yeah, well, we had no training yards. I mean, every time we go international, and sometimes even within Australia, we have to improvise.
Absolutely,
big time.
Yeah. So getting the ropes around the camel's necks, you know, so that it was attached to the halter, and be able to lead the camel.
Getting the halter,
never been led before,
and getting a halter on some of the camels. The not wild one. Apologies. What's it called? Very untamed, green undomesticated camel.
Yeah.
Yeah. AKA wild.
I'm furious.
Furious.
No, don't chuck that one in, Russell.
Furious?
Yeah, that'll just send it off again, won't it?
Oh, the Furious Camels?
No, if I add in a word furious.
Oh. Okay, I don't get it. Anyway.
But anyway, I do. That's all right. It's my joke.
As long as it matters to you.
Yeah. So anyway, we started training these camels, and we got there, and we've got lots of kicks coming out, and by the end, to cut the story short, by the end of it, of course, we had camels that were able to be hushed down on command, relatively well. I mean, they're still
very
have
fresh,
but at least they've got a structure.
Yes.
And to work from.
And I suppose going back to the wild thing, like if we were to pull a camel out of the wild here in Australia, which we do have wild, actually we don't have wild camels. I'm politically incorrect. We have feral camels. Either way,
come in out of the wild.
They come out from the desert. Anyway, you guys get our point. We're just having a bit of a, it's all political. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But basically, if we pull a camel out from the desert out here in Australia, what the signs that these camels show in Australia are the same signs that we saw of these camels in India. That's why we're saying wild, because we know what a wild/feral camel looks like coming out.
And for the purpose of what Neitha and his village were wanting to do, and that being a milking operation, of course you've got to get around the back part of the camel. You've got to have the confidence that the camel's not going to kick out when you go ahead and put cups on the udders and that sort of thing. And so the camels need to become desensitised, around that area, and also have the trust that you're not going to hurt them, hence the reason why they would lash out if they thought that you were going to hurt them and kick out. Okay, so that's where the camels were, in that no way could you get into the back part of the camel like that, or front, or anywhere really around some of the bodies of some of those camels. But of course, with the training program, after the 3 or so days that we had spent with them, we were patting them all over, and they were quite comfortable with humans being in their space, and so. Effectively, the objectives were achieved, and it was done in, of course, the quiet, gentle persistence and kind manner that this program offers.
And then the real fun started, walking all the way to Pushkar, which was estimated about 100 kilometres, but I think someone clocked it at 120 kilometres. Don't know what that is in miles, sorry. But a long way, and in the heat. And for me...
Oh, can I? Yeah, go on. Yeah.
I was going to say, for me, who ended up catching a virus and, being cold, hot sweats, it was definitely a big feat. But what were you going to say? Okay,
so back in the village, of course, some of the other happenings that occurred along the way, we ended up in a photo shoot for a politician.
Oh, that's right.
With the whole village.
It was good PR for him.
Yeah. I don't even know. Yeah, whatever. And good luck to him, I should imagine. What else happened there? We played cricket, of course, with kids. There was a cricket game, which was really quite exciting.
Well, us women all got henna done. So the women in the village, we all had a bit of a girls' party, and for a few hours, and
we
had
all had
henna.
a dress-up night, and so all us Westerners got
That's
dressed
right,
up
we did.
in traditional Reiki outfits.
Yeah.
Raika outfits and
Raika.
And in the meantime, every morning, of course, we had our meeting with the elders, and so we sat down with all the elders and had a sharing experience there with them as well. And through somehow it happened anyway, but through the company that we were working with, who organised a lot of our travel itineraries and that sort of stuff. Bottles of we had to gift bottles of drench
to the sheep,
to the herders,
sheep herders, yeah,
to the sheep herders. So they came along as well, and we had this big ceremony that went for us.
It was like 50 bottles or something.
These bottles of drench, which meant then their herds were healthy again. Or, you know.
So it's because of our
parasites.
because we booked with this travel company, they were able to give back to the community.
Yeah.
I think that was the loose arrangement.
Loose arrangement, however it worked. Yeah, so I'm just flicking through some photos now of what was going on.
I think we should get into the walk, because that was, although it was, just sort of similar thing every day, but walking to Pushkar, I'd say it was almost a bit transformational, not only for the camels, because they seriously calmed down with their demeanours, and, they got into the flow, and they know how to respect the rope now and everything like that, because we all led our camels individually.
Yeah.
But also some of the areas where we walked, I would say most Westerns would possibly never see. Some very poor, impoverished areas, which were a bit kind of shocking. But these people, they kind of seemed happy, but they just had such limited things, like literally some sort of plastic hut in the middle of a very dry paddock, trying to make their income from herding goats. Yeah, and so it was very much an eye opening. And then we'd walk through villages, and a lot of these villages, like, because we actually stayed in local villages, they had never seen a white person in their life. So there was a lot of attention on us, which was an interesting experience for us, because after walking, 30 kilometres a day, you kind of just want to be left alone. But we all took it in with everything we've got. We knew that this is a whole experience. So we stayed in villages, we stayed in people's homes, we stayed...
in houses that were being built.
We stayed in a house that was being built. We stayed in a hall that we got kicked out of for political reasons. And then...
we've got to explain that, okay. I have to explain that because the village chief went ahead and granted permission.
Well,
the returns officer of that district said, listen, you can't actually do that because the elections are coming up, and it would look like, some favouritism. You're doing this for votes on polling day, so that we had to find somewhere else. So look, that was fine. It was in no time flat. Neitha and Indian Moments.
Somehow they organised something else.
Some other accommodation.
That
which was just delightful.
Things changed so suddenly, and yet things were fixed so suddenly.
Yeah.
And it was all just team effort, and everybody worked together beautifully, including us, who us Westerners who actually came on the journey. So the walk to Pushkar was just outstandingly beautiful, humbling, very challenging. We all got blisters. None of us were immune to that. No. But we all just coped with it and continued to support each other in what we were doing. We gave the bandages when needed. We gave extra water when needed. It was a beautiful team effort and team environment.
I want to start actually mention the night before we walked. Okay, the night before we walked, of course, we had this anticipation, what are we going into? Mm-hmm. We all felt it, and even Neitha felt it. He'd never walked to Pushkar before. And Papaji and Papaji Junior as well, and they were quite keen to get going, I think.
Oh yeah.
Anything, they wanted to get to Pushkar. But we did our last training session with the camels, and first of all we walked them around the paddock. Now these camels, they were bought as pregnant camels. Now without an ultrasound or anything like that, of course, you can't be 100% certain. And from the eye, I couldn't pick that they were pregnant. Definitely not.
I could see some of the others were getting a little bit full. I could
full in the udder. Maybe. Yeah. But
some of them were not heavily, but they were. Yeah.
No, and that's pretty much the only But they were fit, healthy, very strong camels.
Oh yeah.
And to be honest, reflecting on the whole journey, we did that 120 kilometres. They walked back, and I guarantee you they could have turned around and done it again in a blink of an eye.
Well, there's actually studies done in Australia where they've put tracking collars on camels just to see how they meander around through their day. And camels in Australia walk up to 50 kilometres a day, no matter if they're a bull, a young calf, or a pregnant female cow.
Yeah.
So we didn't doubt that they couldn't do it, and none of them were stressed at all.
No. They enjoyed
And
it.
if they were, we would have reconsidered what was going on. Of course, we work with what we've got.
Yeah.
So yeah, they flowed into it perfectly,
And that's
and
the beauty of
then
the
they had
camel.
2 or 3 days rest or something when we got to Pushkar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a nice rest up
Yeah.
and good feed up. And every time that we stopped at night, Papa G and Papa G Junior, they fed the camels. We had a little truck that was following.
We had a fodder truck with
that
all the
had
feed.
All the feed on it.
It was amazing.
I mean, this mountain of food that the camels had. And water, every time we went past a water trough on this walk, Papa G's, right, water. And, and sort of had to try to explain, Papa G, you know, like, maybe not so regular.
They're camels.
You know, like 20 minutes apart. You don't necessarily need to do that. I know you love your animals, mate, but it's not.
It was
totally
sweet. It was so sweet.
Just the way they were looking after.
And the thing that I've noticed about this episode of this podcast is we haven't talked much about Pushkar, which is really interesting because I feel like all of us got the most amazing experience whether we got to Pushkar or not. Like Pushkar's great, and there's lots more camels there, and there's all the shops where you can buy all the camel souvenirs and whatnot. But for me, the highlight was the experience getting to Pushkar.
Yeah.
Like Pushkar was just kind of like a bonus, you know what I mean? Like we got the most amazing experiences. So
as we were walking along too, then all the people that we came across. Just all the villagers and all the people out in the paddocks, they all came out waving, smiling, and they were happy at what we were doing. Papa G would explain to people as they pulled up on motorbikes what's going on, and they'd be going, oh,
God knows what story he told them.
they were all going, oh, well done, keep going, well done, and just the generosity that was shown there. So. Yeah, coming through some photos here again, and
I think we should highlight the 15Ks before we got to Pushkar, because that was unintentionally very historically awesome. So unintentionally, all of us women, including myself, so like Russell and I, we bought 6 camels, so 6 of our participants who came along, helped train them and walked them to Pushkar and blah, blah, blah. But Russell and I, we sort of just, kind of overlooked the whole thing. But before, about 15Ks before reaching Pushkar, we dressed them up in their attire of beautiful camel blankets and beautiful camel jewelry.
Yeah.
And I became fond of Netha's young bull, Raja, who wasn't named at that point in time, but then I said to Netha, if you don't mind, Netha, I'd love to name him Raja. So Raja's kind of stuck.
Yeah.
I got the pleasure of walking him into Pushkar, and Netha got to a stage where he looked at the nose peg, seeing what happened, the past, however many days we'd been together, and he says, tied it up, and he says, that doesn't work.
Yeah, so we had all the camels on nose loops.
Yes.
And all the females of the group were leading the camels.
Yes.
Okay. Andrew and I were with Netha.
Having chai.
Netha and Papa G and Papa G Junior, we were just basically walking alongside of the camels, making sure that the passing traffic didn't get too close and that sort of thing.
Like that was going to happen.
And, but yeah, look, I'm feeling quite proud of myself that I had my stick out and I was acting like an Indian policeman at different intersections and stopping cars and buses and everything. It was a lot of fun in that respect, and giving space for the camels to be able to walk up into
the camels were very desensitised by the end of it. The closeness of the vehicles is very impressive.
Took it in their stride.
Yeah. But getting into Pushkar, obviously things got very, very busy and lots of horns tooting, and suddenly there's all these white women walking camels into Pushkar.
Yeah.
What the... Seriously. And it was so unintentional.
Happened that way.
Andrew and Russell kind of drifted off into drinking chai, and us women just headed the hoe and off we go.
But I think one thing that I noticed was that all of the Untwellers, all of the cameliers, as we entered into the festival and the fair, there's smiles on their dials.
I didn't see any of that because I was too busy watching cars run over.
People more than anything, and they would just go, "Oh, this is awesome! Look, they've got all these white women all dressed up in Indian saris, and, dresses and whatnot." And they're leading the camels and not using the nose pegs and they were just, and of course it was different, I suppose, something different, and then as it was explained
and the tourists were getting their cameras out and going, "Oh my God!"
The news services were there, trying to get interviews and all that sort of thing, and photos and videos and whatnot. But just the delight that these people had. That we had all that interest in camels because there's a bit of an issue going on over there in Rajasthan at the moment in trying to save the camel culture and save the population numbers of camels. So I think the very fact that we were interested enough in camels, full stop. I mean, that really honed in. Well,
I think also the fact that it is a very male dominant culture, and women don't generally deal with the camels in handling respect. They milk them and whatnot, generally, and it was looking back. I'm from a woman's perspective. It was transformational. I don't know whether it has or has not been done before. Probably not since I've been alive. But 6-7 women walking into Pushkar all with camels in their hand. Wow. Yeah. Seriously, to be honest, that was a massive highlight just from the woman's perspective of being such a male dominant culture, and it's not a power thing. It's just I don't really know what it was. It just felt wow. Yeah.
Well, all I saw was that there were smiles on people's faces, and they were very happy that that the camels were there. They were all dressed up beautifully with all the decorations, and that people are concerned and wanting to be with the camel.
Yes.
Rather than just simply being a tourist, I suppose. Sort of. Going to the Pushkar Camel Festival and taking...
Well, often, that's what I was saying, often that's a big highlight for people is going to the festival, but I found my whole entire highlight was from when I set foot in that village to when I got to Pushkar. It was the
whole experience, wasn't
it was just incredible, it just blew us all away, and it was very emotional when we finally got to Pushkar, and lots of photos were being taken, the smiles were big on everyone's faces, the camels were getting used to camels pulling carts, freaking out a little bit, but we all just settled into it, and of course the camels rested for about 3 days, and we did our shopping that we needed to do, our exploring that we needed to do,
saw the lake,
and I was still recovering from being very sick, and poor Wendy G was very sick, and this experience was amazing, and we are going to do it again. We are committed to supporting to preserve the camel culture in our own way. We know there are many other people doing some really great things out there with their, helping to preserve the camel culture. But this is just our small contribution to what we can do to move things forward.
Well, that's right.
And to help one particular village. I mean, we can't save the world, but...
It's a starfish thing, isn't it? You're walking along the beach and there's all the starfish drying out in the sun.
Yeah, which ones do you save? Yeah.
Pick one up, throw it in the ocean, there's one more. So, sort of. We're not saving, okay? I'm cautious of words here.
Do you want the dictionary?
If we can assist someone who's actually a very honest, genuine person, and is a friend of ours, and his village, to create an employment program so that there's some income being generated and purpose with the camels as well, being our area. Then I'm up for it. I'm so up for it. That experience.
And to be able to offer, our community, those that are listening here right now, offer you guys a chance to experience something incredibly authentic in India with camels. that we didn't even cover half the stuff that we really did. But yeah, it was incredible. And if you are interested in joining us next time and helping support these projects, which basically means we're buying a village some camels, so there's philanthropy work involved as well. Just head over to our website and go to International Camel Journeys on the top bar, and just get on the wait list, because we don't know when it's going to happen yet. We haven't had time to sit down yet and figure out our next 2 years plan, but it will happen.
Yeah, I just want to say also one thing that's followed on since the Pushkar journey that we did, the whole journey.
India Camel Journey, yeah.
India Camel Journey. Got back home and I put out a call out for one thing that now that these camels will be dropping their babies and their milking operation will be starting basically very, very soon, within the next month or so,
couple of months.
I spoke with Nathan and he said, well, needing first thing that really need to kick this off is a milking machine. So I put a call out there for seeing if anyone is wanting to donate and hope that we raise enough money.
A GoFundMe page, yeah.
A GoFundMe page, and as it turns out, and I've done my search on Google and contacted some companies in India, and guess what?
Oh, what? I don't know this, do I?
We've got enough donations to be able to get that milking machine.
Really?
Yeah.
Since when?
It's not the fanciest of milking machines.
Yeah.
It's not the big, U-Butte super transformer type model.
Right.
But it's a start. And,
wow.
and Nathan's already...
when did this happen? I didn't know.
Because I do things too. Which you don't know.
Yeah, but you tell me about that.
And so, Nathan's contacted the companies. He's wildly excited. His villagers, members of, wow, this is really going to happen for them. And so now we're in negotiations with the companies as to which machine exactly that we'll be getting for their project. So
that's great.
Yeah,
that's really good.
Thumbs up to those who donated.
Yes.
And that will be happening very soon. And if you stick with our Facebook page
or Instagram,
look, eventually we'll get some photos up there, of this actually happening, and I should imagine Nathan will have an opening ceremony of the box with the elders. They'll be able to show us and all that sort of thing. So well done everyone who donated. Thank you very, very much, and I'm looking at other ways of being able to assist the project, but of course it's a project in development. It hasn't been.
Things evolve, that's for sure.
Things do evolve.
Yeah.
So thumbs up to those.
Great. Okay, that's really good news because it's an amazing project, and we get to support a whole village, which. I can't remember how many people they said lived there, but anyway, a few. There was houses everywhere.
Yeah.
So
and the herders and everyone else in the surrounding area.
Yeah.
It affects everyone.
Thank you so much for listening in again, and really hope you enjoyed hearing just a glimpse of what we experienced in India. Like I said, if you want to join us on one of our international journeys coming up, head over to our website, which is currently australiancamels.com until we move it over to camelconnection.com. But if you use either, both will work. And just sign up to get on the wait list to be the first to hear about and to have the first dibs really on any position, any vacant bookings coming up.
I know that there's people that have already emailed and texted me saying that they wanted to come to India.
Yeah, I think we booked out already.
Look, but we haven't put the call out there.
No, and we've not committed to any dates or anything.
We're not committed to actually putting people into slots on the booking sheet yet. But as soon as that email blast goes out, then that's when that will happen.
Yes, it will. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
All right, see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
If you liked this information we've just shared with you, you'll be sure to love the free camel ebooks and training videos that we're giving away. We're giving away 2 camel ebooks, Introduction to Camels and Introduction to Camel Training. Plus, in our bonus camel training videos, we take you through training and handling camels built on connection and trust. And we also share how to understand a camel's way of thinking. This is gold information that you don't want to miss, so be sure to sign up now to get your free ebooks and training videos over at camelconnection.com.